The boy was given a magical stone. When the stone fully melted into his body and became a tattoo, the bearer gained incredibly powerful superhuman abilities. His tattoo was particularly extraordinary, capable of giving birth to a black hole that could devour all things when activated. If he so wished, this black hole could even swallow the entire Earth. Yet, such extraordinarily powerful tattoos numbered only 4 in the world. The reason the boy acquired his tattoo was equally bizarre. While walking through town, a mysterious man forcefully shoved it into his hand. The moment the tattoo stone touched his palm, accompanied by a burning heat, it dissolved into a black mark on his hand. The man explained this was a key destined to touch the world's ultimate truth, but the boy simply dismissed the man's words as a joke. Unbeknownst to him, a dangerous and dark conspiracy was already looming toward him. Seigi was originally an ordinary high school student who often overslept and was constantly late for school. While sprinting to school one day, he was suddenly blocked by a girl who appeared out of nowhere. She seized the chance to snatch his phone when he was off guard. After getting over the shock, Seigi chased after her. By the time he realized something was wrong, the girl had already lured him into an abandoned factory building. Without any concealment, she directly stated she was sent by the military with a mission to recover the tattoo from Seigi. Hearing this, Seigi was utterly bewildered, as he had no idea what the tattoo even was. Mistaking his confusion for feigned ignorance, the girl kicked him flying, grabbed him by the collar, and pummeled his face relentlessly. She even drew a dagger from her waist. From her fierce gaze, Seigi felt the threat of death for the first time. However, the girl wasn't actually trying to kill him. She was testing whether this would force him to activate the tattoo. Upon learning his life wasn't in danger, Seigi asked what she truly wanted. Only then did the girl remove her glove, revealing a black mark on her palm. She explained this was the tattoo, which granted the bearer a unique superpower and significantly enhanced physical abilities. However, activating the tattoo required a specific trigger. Her tattoo's trigger was chalk. Once activated, it could condense gas into air bombs. Due to the uniqueness of Seigi's tattoo, the girl decided to observe him for a while before making a decision. However, her partner Tom disapproved, as she had disclosed too much confidential information to Seigi, and failing to address it promptly could lead to dire consequences. Though fully aware of the risks, her personal feelings prevented her from harming Seigi. Unexpectedly, Seigi approached her voluntarily, expressing his desire to return the tattoo on his hand. Impressed by his resolve, the girl was about to reveal that removing the tattoo came at a cost when a man in a suit suddenly charged over and slammed Seigi to the ground. This man, also a tattoo bearer, had come under orders from his mafia superiors to seize Seigi's tattoo. The girl intended to intervene, but Seigi, having practiced martial arts with his grandfather since childhood, wanted to prove his strength even without the tattoo. Driven by defiance, he rushed forward. Yet an ordinary person stood no chance against a tattoo bearer. Seigi was completely overpowered without any chance to fight back. Watching the battle, the girl finally intervened with crucial information. From Tom's intelligence, she knew the suited man had possessed his tattoo for less than a month, and thus hadn't mastered its power. Her words instantly enlightened Seigi, who soon noticed the man's numerous openings despite his brute strength. When the man threw another punch, Seigi exploited a vulnerability and struck his jaw. Believing he had subdued his opponent, Seigi was instead pinned to the ground. As Seigi drifted toward the brink of death, his life flashed before his eyes, and he recalled his father's dying words. "Reach for what you desire. If you still can't grasp it, stretch your hand further." An overwhelming will to survive fueled Seigi's defiant reach, and in that very moment, a black hole swelled rapidly from his palm until it completely engulfed the man. The girl and her partner stared in disbelief, for neither had anticipated that this high school student could synchronize with a god-tier tattoo. When Seigi opened his eyes again, he found himself lying in his bed at home. The girl then formally invited him to join the tattoo recovery organization.
Huh?
This is undoubtedly the most bizarre plot development in the anime. A mysterious tattoo coveted by countless powerful individuals was casually handed to a passing, underachieving high school student by a mysterious man as if it were trash. Possessing the tattoo, Seigi plunged straight to the lowest point in his life, spending every day either getting beaten up or on his way to getting beaten up. Even more absurdly, merely because Seigi accidentally activated the tattoo while resisting, the girl's previously perfectly intact house ended up being swallowed whole by the black hole unleashed from the tattoo.
Strange. I was certain my house was here when I left earlier.
According to rumors circulating in the notorious black market, a special weapon called tattoo exists. By utilizing a specific medium as a trigger, its bearer can acquire supernatural powers to become a ruler. Due to the tattoo on his palm, Seigi was regarded as a threat by the military, which dispatched a girl named Izzy to recover it. Izzy was also a tattoo bearer, with exceptionally formidable strength. Every tattoo holder targeted by her had paid a severe price without exception. However, an unexpected incident occurred during her pursuit of Seigi. He awakened the world's rarest god-tier tattoo, which, when activated, could unleash a black hole capable of devouring all things. Belonging to one of the 4 supreme tattoos, it should have backfired and killed any ordinary person instantly, yet Seigi miraculously survived unscathed. Astonished by this, Izzy decided to defy her superior's orders and recruit Seigi to serve under her. To achieve this goal, she transferred to Seigi's class the very next day. First, she boosted Seigi's goodwill in front of all classmates, then naturally lured him to the rooftop. Seigi quickly pinned her against the wall, expecting something to develop between them. But Tom suddenly appeared nearby, explaining that both he and Izzy were military operatives tasked with recovering tattoos stolen by a mysterious figure, Seigi's tattoo being one of their targets. However, they now offered Seigi an alternative, joining the military's tattoo recovery organization. They promised to teach him how to use his tattoo if he agreed. Hearing this, Seigi grew wary, as he had never heard of such an organization. Yet, driven by his desire to grow stronger and pursue his father's path of justice, he did not wish to give up the tattoo's power. He questioned their reasons for joining the military. Facing Seigi's skepticism, Izzy explained it was to prevent war. Over the years, the kingdom had been researching tattoos, intending to turn them into weapons of mass destruction to instigate a world war, an objective clearly contrary to Seigi's creed of justice. After a moment of hesitation, Seigi chose to join the military. This decision undoubtedly pleased both Izzy and Tom. Immediately afterward, she informed Seigi that the trigger for his tattoo was blood. At this point, Seigi remained unaware that Princess Arya of the kingdom had also set her sights on him, dispatching 2 top operatives to seize his tattoo. Among them was a dual-wielding girl codenamed Iltutmish, whose tattoo granted her possession abilities. Due to her apprehension toward Seigi's tattoo power, she decided to possess Seigi's childhood friend Tuco, using Tuco's body to confront Seigi. Meanwhile, Seigi was at Izzy's home preparing for tattoo training when the doorbell suddenly rang. Mistaking it for Izzy's return, Tom approached the door, only for the person outside to hack through it with a blade before he could open it. The intruder was the possessed Tuco. Seeing Tuco radiating malice left Seigi in disbelief. He couldn't comprehend why she would attack Tom. It wasn't until Iltutmish admitted to borrowing Tuco's body that Seigi exploded with rage. Using the opponent's weapon, he sliced his palm to activate his tattoo. Though his combat strength surged instantly, his unfamiliarity with the tattoo's usage soon led to him being knocked down. Without hesitation, Iltutmish stabbed through his shoulder, mocking Seigi as a weakling. This very insult triggered Tuco's consciousness to violently resist. She had secretly loved Seigi since childhood and refused to let anyone use her to belittle him. Tuco's resistance gave Iltutmish a headache. Seizing the opportunity, Tom activated his tattoo, while Seigi forcefully slammed Iltutmish to the ground. Through their coordinated effort, they finally ripped Iltutmish out of Tuco's body. But unexpectedly, Iltutmish's true form proved even more formidable. She aimed to eliminate the troublesome Tom first. Thankfully, Seigi intercepted the attack at the critical moment. His inner fury erupted completely as he prepared to unleash his tattoo's Void Devourer. Sensing imminent danger, Iltutmish tried to sever Seigi's hand to interrupt the activation, but Tuco yanked Seigi aside, dodging the strike. The Void Devourer consequently misfired. The house had been devoured, reduced to mere foundations. Witnessing this, Iltutmish was stunned, yet gained a clear understanding of Seigi's power. Judging that her current equipment couldn't secure victory, she chose to retreat. Meanwhile, Izzy, who was installing tattoo detection devices at school, also came under attack. The assailant was a member of the kingdom's tattoo unit, Brahmin, an utterly depraved man who enjoyed torturing opponents with a 40-meter-long whip. Within moments, he battered Izzy's clothes into tattered shreds. Facing the man's frenzied assault, Izzy feigned an attack only to leap downstairs, retrieving her trigger, a piece of chalk, from the classroom. She immediately activated her tattoo power, grabbed chunks of rubble from the ground, and hurled them. Before the man could react, a massive explosion erupted behind him. Realizing their home might also be under attack, Izzy seized the chance to rush back rapidly. However, upon arriving, she barely recognized her own house. Seigi felt overwhelming guilt because the innocent Tuko had been dragged into this incident, and a strange tattoo had been imprinted on her forehead. To atone for his failure, Seigi trained frantically every day, striving to master his tattoo power quickly to protect Tuko. Meanwhile, the two who had failed their mission refused to relent, shifting their target to Izzy's close best friend. This girl appears innocent and adorable on the surface, but behind the scenes, she is an absolute killing maniac. Humiliated by this girl, she dared to draw a weapon and stab at her in broad daylight. However, the girl was no easy target either. She was Princess Arya of the Kingdom of Selinistan, also the central antagonist of this story. Unexpectedly, after being attacked, Arya grabbed the girl's collar and kissed her. The girl was utterly conquered by this move, collapsing weakly to the ground. This was precisely what Arya intended, as she admired the murderous aura and ambition the girl radiated. She then proposed that the girl become an assassin under her command, offering unimaginable wealth and luxury as reward. Unable to resist due to a childhood scarred by poverty, the girl immediately pledged allegiance to Arya. Iltutmish's first assigned mission was to assassinate Seigi and seize his tattoo. The reason Seigi caught Arya's attention was his awakening of the highest tier tattoo, which, when activated, could unleash a black hole capable of devouring all things. Though this ability sounded formidable, Iltutmish believed 2 blades would suffice. Yet upon confronting Seigi, she discovered that even with her utmost effort, she could not defeat him wielding tattoo power. Ultimately forced to retreat after mission failure, she refused to concede. Instead, she collaborated with a sadistic male assassin from their organization, plotting to capture Lisa alive as leverage against Seigi's team. Since Lisa was also a tattoo bearer, Iltutmish not only equipped her own tattoo for the mission, but also replaced her previous weapons with giant blades. She leaped down from a helicopter. Meanwhile, Lisa was leisurely brewing coffee, completely unaware of the impending danger. It was only when the tattoo detector inside the room sounded that Iltutmish instantly slaughtered a male member. A black man reacted first, pressing the distress button in time, but he was swiftly pierced through the neck by a steel needle. Simultaneously, Iltutmish commenced a frenzied slaughter with her giant blade. Witnessing her teammates fall one after another, Lisa erupted in fury. Using her lipstick as a trigger, she activated her tattoo. With just a snap of her fingers, the air around Iltutmish transformed into scorching flames. Yet the flames seemed utterly ineffective. Left with no choice, Lisa resorted to her gun, but the bullets fired were effortlessly deflected by Iltutmish's blade. Realizing she was no match for the girl, Lisa hastily retreated into a bedroom and slammed the door shut, hoping to buy time. The next instant, Iltutmish stood directly before her. Lisa was stunned but quickly deduced the girl possessed wall-phasing abilities. Knowing escape was futile, Lisa shot an extinguisher, using the expelled powder to obstruct her vision. She then fired at the floating powder. However, against overwhelming power, her struggle proved futile. Concurrently, Lisa's close friend Izzy was en route. Suddenly, a mysterious force violently threw her over 10 meters away, leaving her body heavy as poured lead. It turned out Iltutmish's accomplice Raka had anticipated reinforcements. He had pre-installed an anti-tattoo system, capable of immobilizing tattoo users temporarily. Though he could have easily killed Izzy then, Raka, being a sadist, rejected such a dull method. Shortly after he departed, Seigi finally arrived. Perhaps due to his god-tier tattoo, he remained entirely unaffected by the anti-tattoo system. Meanwhile, Lisa had been driven into a desperate situation. As Iltutmish closed in step by step, Lisa smiled, having resolved to unleash her full power by choosing self-detonation. Izzy and Seigi, hearing the explosion on the rooftop above, reacted swiftly. Izzy urgently told Seigi to rescue Lisa first. Seeing Izzy's intense panic, Seigi immediately quickened his pace. However, upon reaching the site, he found only corpses littering the floor, with Lisa conspicuously absent. Following the trail of blood, Seigi eventually discovered Lisa captured on the rooftop. Remembering that everyone downstairs had been killed by Iltutmish, he furiously demanded to know if she felt any remorse. Iltutmish coldly retorted that only violence could dominate others. Kindness only led to self-destruction. Enraged by this twisted ideology, Seigi charged forward without hesitation to save Lisa. Yet Iltutmish's strength had grown beyond recognition. She sent him flying out of the building with a single strike. Fortunately, Tom caught him just in time. Though saved, Seigi attempted to return to the rooftop, but Tom intervened, warning that Seigi's unique tattoo was too critical. Losing him would incur catastrophic consequences. Powerless, Seigi could only watch as Lisa was taken away by the kingdom's agents. Meanwhile, Izzy finally broke free from the anti-tattoo system's effects and rushed to the scene. Picking up Lisa's jacket dropped on the ground, she unexpectedly discovered a recording on the fallen phone. The message demanded that Seigi exchange his tattoo for Lisa at the pier, or Lisa would be delivered to the kingdom that very night. Fuming, Izzy decided to confront these underhanded and savage individuals herself. It turned out that multiple factions coveted Seigi's high-tier tattoo. Not just the military, Arya had long schemed toward the same goal. She deployed the Brahmin unit's top assassins to pursue Seigi because she aimed to harness his tattoo power to become a god and reshape the world into one free from conflict. Not long ago, military high-ranking officer Lieutenant Lisa was taken hostage by Arya's two top assassins, Iltutmish and Raka. To capture Lisa smoothly, they massacred the entire White Rose organization led by her. This enraged Lisa's close friend Lieutenant Izzy, who vowed to make the foolish assassins pay in blood after rescuing Lisa. She swiftly gathered her subordinates to deploy a rescue plan. They deduced the assassins would head to the pier that night, where a ship from the kingdom was docked. Just then, Seigi and Tuco arrived after receiving the news. Izzy pretended to greet them but swiftly subdued Seigi, clearly preventing him from joining the rescue mission. After Izzy left, a confused Seigi asked Tom the reason. Tom explained it was to protect him from enemies, but Seigi knew it was to prevent his tattoo from being stolen. Such a formidable weapon naturally attracted many covetous eyes, including Princess Arya of the kingdom. Not only did she possess the most comprehensive tattoo knowledge, but she had also established a private tattoo unit, Brahmin, specifically to seize more tattoos. Its members were elite assassins meticulously selected worldwide. Equipped with standard tattoos, they had no rivals except those possessing god-tier tattoos. Seigi's tattoo happened to be the most explosive, prompting them to kidnap Lisa, demanding he exchange his tattoo for her life. However, the fiercely independent Izzy despised such underhanded tactics. As the enemy drove toward the pier, she intercepted them with an entire armed force. Sensing an imminent battle, Raka grew exhilarated with boiling bloodlust. Meanwhile, Iltutmish burst from the vehicle wielding her giant blade. Soldiers immediately opened fire, but ordinary troops stood no chance against tattoo bearers. Seeing Raka handling the front effortlessly, Iltutmish decided to eliminate enemies at the rear. Raka had already activated his tattoo, deploying a barrier field that rendered the soldiers' guns useless. Izzy dodged his attacks using her tattoo's power, only for Raka to slash his whip again, shattering her uniform. However, the successive combo attacks seemed ineffective against Raka. Evidently, only the initial surprise shot had worked. Izzy found herself back in a passive position. In stark contrast, Raka's face was flushed with manic excitement, unleashing an unprecedented fighting spirit. Meanwhile, Iltutmish on the other front had also entered slaughter mode. The soldiers' barrage of bullets couldn't hit the high-speed moving Iltutmish. Just as Tom, overseeing operations remotely, felt powerless, a familiar figure suddenly appeared on the screen, Seigi and Tuco, finally arriving, pedaling their bicycles. Shortly after Izzy's departure, Seigi had forcibly broken free from his restraints. Driven by a lifelong sense of justice, he could never stand by while comrades were in danger. Tom tried to dissuade him from acting rashly but was quickly subdued by Seigi's swift combo. Tuco, Seigi's childhood friend, wholeheartedly supported his decision. Seigi initially planned to use his tattoo power to devour the locked door, but unexpectedly, the released black hole swallowed the entire house. One could only wonder what Izzy would think upon seeing the vanished house upon her return. She is Arya, universally recognized as the strongest female antagonist in the anime world. Despite being a princess of a super kingdom, she murdered her own father to ascend the throne. Yet no one expected that beneath her ruthless exterior lay a bisexuality with a fondness for kissing, targeting even the underaged Seigi.
Seems really inappropriate right now.
When Izzy rallied armed forces to rescue Lisa, they were intercepted by members of the kingdom's assassin organization. Arriving at the battlefield, Seigi saw comrades being brutally slaughtered. Enraged, he squeezed a blood pack to activate his tattoo power, landing before Iltutmish in an ungraceful posture, yet this minor setback did not shake his resolve to uphold justice. Iltutmish immediately slashed mercilessly at Seigi, who swiftly dodged the attack. Seizing an opening, he parried her blade and even mocked Iltutmish for her loneliness and lack of friends. Instantly provoked, Iltutmish kicked him flying. Iltutmish despised nothing more than being called lonely. Tragic childhood experiences had erased the concept of friendship from her life, until her master Arya appeared. Seigi's words had pierced her heart deeply. Facing Iltutmish's storm of attacks, Seigi could only scramble helplessly. Wherever he fled, Iltutmish materialized instantly. As Seigi grew increasingly frantic, Tuco threw him a walkie-talkie. Tom, observing via remote monitoring, had deciphered Iltutmish's wall, phasing ability, functional only with an observer present. Hearing this, Seigi calmed himself and closed his eyes. Yet to his shock, Iltutmish replicated the technique, slashing open his abdomen. Witnessing Seigi's severe injury, Tuco's forehead tattoo ignited. She leaped up, slamming Iltutmish into a wall as her tattoo began draining energy from the assassin. But against Iltutmish's overwhelming strength, her resistance proved futile. At that moment, a voice suddenly echoed from deep within Seigi, tempting him to use Void Devourer to kill Iltutmish. To protect Tuco, Seigi finally erupted completely, reactivating his tattoo power with his own blood. Immediately, the surrounding ground collapsed as Seigi used his ability to dig a pit underground. Iltutmish, having fallen into the pit, attempted to counterattack but was slammed away by Seigi's punch. He then caught the falling Tuco securely. Thus, Iltutmish was utterly defeated. Angered by her slaughter of so many, Seigi wound up his fist to finish her off. Yet at this critical juncture, a woman suddenly appeared behind him, Arya, Iltutmish's master. For unknown reasons, Seigi's consciousness grew hazy upon seeing Arya, and an inexplicable force drew him toward her. Arya lifted his chin and kissed him, but Iltutmish stepped forward, voicing her displeasure. The princess belonged to her alone. Unaware at this moment, Arya would ultimately be undone by her compulsion to kiss anyone she encountered, forever forfeiting her chance to become the god of gods. This girl appears to be a young, cute high school student, but in reality, she is an auntie approaching 40. Her perpetually youthful appearance stems from a mysterious tattoo forcibly branded onto her palm at age 16. Since then, her physical growth ceased entirely, and she gained the ability to compress air into bombs. Izzy's mission is to retrieve rogue tattoos. Yet, when she engaged her target Raka in combat, she dared not recklessly abuse her tattoo's superpower, fearing explosions might harm her friend Lisa. Lisa was currently locked inside a carriage, her body weakened by anesthetic. With no alternative, Izzy resorted to using a pistol outside. However, conventional weapons proved limited against a tattoo bearer. Consequently, for the next several exchanges, Izzy was unilaterally suppressed. Raka couldn't help but taunt Izzy, and even considered foregoing he defensive abilities. Through their earlier confrontation, Izzy had discerned that Raka could freely manipulate an object's mass. The air grenades unleashed invisible shockwaves, which Raka couldn't deflect. He could only endure the air grenade's bombardment upon his body. Just as the battle seemed concluded, Raka proved too cunning. He activated the anti-tattoo system installed in the vehicle, instantly immobilizing Izzy while her tattoo was active. With a lewd smirk, he picked up a gun from the ground to finish Izzy off. Yet before he could act, Lisa kicked him hard from behind. After the fight, the military prepared to bind Raka for transport back to base. However, Raka's teammates materialized out of thin air at that moment. Izzy was astonished at how they arrived. Arya answered it was the tattoo's hyperlink ability and proposed ending the conflict. But Lisa was not about to let them leave easily, especially since Raka had nearly slaughtered all their people. Seeing this, Arya showed disdain and summoned an illusory monster from behind her. Izzy's entire group was utterly shocked. They hadn't realized Arya was a holder of a god-class tattoo, capable of freely manipulating the tattoo's primordial form. Seigi arrived just in time to witness this scene. His hand bore a god-class tattoo like Arya's, yet he had never seen such a monster. Ultimately, Raka was rescued by Arya. Before departing, Arya left Seigi with meaningful words, essentially urging him to deeply understand the tattoo because he was essential to the primordial form. Seigi felt bewildered. Soon after, Arya dispatched a man to clarify Seigi's confusion. BB, Izzy's long-lost boyfriend. BB quickly located Seigi. Seigi backed away, demanding if BB was from the kingdom, then activated his tattoo and charged forward to seize him. Unexpectedly, BB dodged effortlessly, causing Seigi to lose balance and fall. The persistent Seigi challenged him repeatedly, only to be thrown down each time. Finally, BB used his ability directly, knocking Seigi unconscious. After loading Seigi into a car, BB called Izzy. Hearing BB's voice left Izzy deeply shocked. BB stated he was borrowing Seigi for the night, and abruptly hung up the phone. Soon BB brought Seigi to a location, stating he had previously belonged to Brahmin and that this was a kingdom research stronghold for the anti-tattoo system. The anti-tattoo device rendered tattoos ineffective by utilizing human brains, resulting in dozens of individuals becoming experimental subjects. Hearing this, Seigi grew furious. BB declared they were there that day to destroy the place. Seigi promptly activated his tattoo and used Void Devourer to swallow the wall ahead. They quickly entered the research center, but their actions had already been detected by the doctor stationed there. BB remarked that this deranged doctor was a second-rate researcher abandoned by the organization. Enraged by this, the doctor immediately deployed his elite squad, each member possessing a tattoo. He boasted that while they were replicas, they possessed identical physical capabilities to the originals. They had undergone forced assimilation with the primordial form, and the replicated tattoos were also influenced by it. Seigi demanded to know what the primordial form truly was. The doctor's assistant explained that the primordial form was the core enabling a tattoo's power manifestation, essentially the spirit or soul. She countered by asking if he had never heard the primordial form speak. Only then did Seigi realize it was the primordial form that had tempted him to kill Iltutmish. Furthermore, the doctor's elite squad would self-destruct upon losing consciousness. Soon, the replicas launched an attack on Seigi. While countering, Seigi had to take extreme care not to knock them unconscious, leaving him utterly uncertain how to fight. The battle-experienced BB, however, simply activated his tattoo to make the replicas lose consciousness. The doctor was perplexed as to why they hadn't detonated despite being unconscious. It turned out BB had already neutralized the bombs within the replicas. The doctor hadn't anticipated BB could locate the bombs mid-combat. As the doctor marveled, Seigi and BB charged at him. Thus, under BB's leadership, they successfully dismantled the research institute. The next day, BB began training Seigi. Seigi's control over his tattoo was not yet very proficient. BB instructed him to learn to control the size of Void Devourer, requiring him to at least use it to make holes in hair. Seigi doubted he could accomplish such a feat. However, BB stated he would teach Seigi how to do it. After the training session, Izzy arrived at the location. Izzy asked him why he had sided with the kingdom. BB responded that he was simply doing what he wanted to do. Just as BB prepared to leave, Izzy could no longer restrain herself and stepped forward to embrace him. But BB pushed her away. He was surprised that Izzy still had his jacket. BB had originally planned to come back for her after everything was concluded. But the current situation was extremely critical. It was no longer just competition in tattoo weapon development. The princess sought to reshape the world using the existing tattoo remains. She had already gained control over 2 such sites and was likely targeting the third. Indeed, the princess was currently inside the ruins, tampering with the tattoo. Izzy couldn't believe she was doing such a thing. Her goal was to use the remains to alter the world. BB told Izzy to protect the final ruin site, stressing that the princess absolutely must not succeed. After saying this, BB departed. Elsewhere, Tuko arrived at the dojo carrying a watermelon to find Seigi. Seigi, exhausted after training, had fallen asleep right there in the dojo. Tuko was loving her current state. Having a tattoo meant she could exist in the same world as Seigi. Although seeing the other things was frightening, as long as she could stay with Seigi, it was fine. To thwart the princess's scheme, the military directly dispatched troops to the ruins. Seigi and Tuko also came to assist. This muscular man was Brigadier General Sanders, the commander, along with other military tattoo holders who arrived for support. They immediately aimed machine guns at the ruins and unleashed a barrage of fire. Other members jumped down from the helicopter, preparing for battle. In the flames not far away, a figure emerged, Carl, the vice captain of Brahmin. A man, seeing she was a beauty, charged straight at her. The result was a single drawing/technique from Carl. She cleanly cut the man in half at the waist, and moreover, severed his head from his body. Simultaneously, numerous maids appeared behind Carl. Their objective was to prevent the military from destroying the ruins. Inside the ruins, the princess received news of the intruders. Arya, knowing Carl and the others alone couldn't handle so many people, instructed Iltutmish to provide support. Arya lent her own power to Iltutmish, enabling the primordial form to manifest and dominate her for a short time. Outside, Carl was cutting down opponents relentlessly. Izzy was kicked flying by a pursuing maid. Nearby, Tom was also shot and injured. Just as a maid pointed a gun to shoot Tom, Izzy shot and killed the maid instead. Thanks to Izzy's timely intervention, Tom narrowly escaped death. At that moment, Seigi also spotted Carl's figure. Just as he prepared to strike, he reconsidered and abandoned the attack, because his opponent was not Carl, but the princess inside the ruins. Unexpectedly, Carl instantly teleported beside him, relentlessly swinging her blade at Seigi. Carl, aware he held a god-class tattoo, chose not to kill him and simply left. Aboard the helicopter, Tuco, seeing this, was extremely worried. Sanders reassured her that Seigi would be fine. At this moment, Iltutmish, having gained power, appeared and used her strength to summon the primordial form. Soon, Iltutmish transformed into a saber-toothed tiger and attacked the helicopters in the air, swiftly shooting down 2 of them. Sanders hoisted Tuco and prepared to jump from the aircraft, managing to land safely. Unexpectedly, Carl pursued them immediately. She activated her tattoo and attacked with air walls. Sanders dodged the assault and threw a punch towards her. Seeing this, Carl jumped to evade the strike, unable to believe his abilities were also so terrifying. Then, Izzy arrived to provide support. Carl, witnessing this, held nothing back and unleashed her ultimate technique, compressing air with air walls, then instantly propelling all the air walls outward. Sanders leaped into the air to avoid the attack, but Izzy, caught off guard, was struck. However, the moment Sanders landed, Carl slashed with her blade, severing his limbs. He hadn't expected to lose. Izzy, injured in the arm, had just leaned against a tree to catch her breath when Carl approached with her blade. Just as Carl prepared to swing her sword to execute Izzy, Bibi arrived on a motorcycle, diverting Carl's attention. Carl declared he was no match for her, but Bibi disagreed, asserting he would be the ultimate victor. Seigi was momentarily happy to see Bibi arrive, only for Arya to emerge from the ruins at that very moment, mocking Bibi that his belief in not killing would only harm himself. Seigi tried to ambush her, but Arya instantly seized him by the throat. As he wondered how the wall appeared, a rod pierced his arm. Seigi vowed he would absolutely stop her from reshaping the world. But Arya revealed she had done all this to lure Bibi out, intending to make him exhaust his power and be devoured by the primordial form, after which she would claim his tattoo to obtain the second key. As for Seigi, she would leave him here to watch in despair and agony. Elsewhere, Carl stated she would ensure Bibi fulfilled his purpose as the key. But Bibi suddenly claimed Carl liked him. Carl's face instantly flushed red. However, she dared not admit it, yet Bibi saw through her. He then embraced Izzy beside him, declaring his heart had long belonged to Izzy. Hearing this, Carl became furious and unleashed a barrage of air walls towards them. Yet, Bibi blocked all of it. Bibi instructed Izzy to rescue Seigi, leaving Carl to him. Izzy had no choice but to go save Seigi, though she remained deeply concerned about Bibi. Lisa also discovered the commander was severely injured and notified Burns, instructing him to take command of the battlefield. Burns contacted the command center on the helicopter to understand the situation on the ground. Simultaneously, he spotted Iltutmish transformed into a monster and immediately ordered a full retreat, knowing they were no match for Brahmin. He directed his subordinates to retrieve troops and prioritize rescuing the wounded. He also instructed Tom to get Tuco to safety first. However, Tuco was extremely worried about Seigi's safety. At that moment, Seigi was pinned to the wall by Arya using rods. Arya used her tattoo ability to obstruct the activation of his power, rendering him unable to use his abilities. Seigi refused to believe she could do this. From Arya's perspective, he still completely misunderstood the god-class tattoo. She offered no explanation to Seigi, who was a key. Tuco, preparing to retreat, decided to turn back to find Seigi. Meanwhile, Lisa faced off against the monstrous Iltutmish. Just as she didn't know what to do, Burns stated he would handle it. Lisa knew he couldn't hold out for more than a few minutes alone. Fighting together offered a chance of survival. Faced with the incoming attacks, Lisa had no choice but to constantly evade. The trees near Iltutmish suddenly began to crystallize. Lisa and Burns fired at the crystallized trees. Upon being hit, they instantly caused massive explosions. However, Iltutmish sustained little damage. Nevertheless, Burns activated his tattoo again, trapping her in the earth and initiating crystallization of her legs. Seizing the opportunity, Lisa also shot to trigger an explosion. Just as Lisa believed she had finally destroyed her, Iltutmish suddenly appeared behind Lisa. Fortunately, Burns shielded her from the attack. He then crystallized Iltutmish's body. This was the only way he could ensure Lisa's survival. He pulled the trigger and perished together with Iltutmish. Izzy arrived at Seigi's location then. Yet the bullets she fired were instantly devoured. Immediately after, Arya controlled Earth to bind Izzy. At that moment, BB was also blasted to this spot, pursued closely by Carl. BB endured the pain and stood up, demanding 5 minutes of power from the primordial form, stating it would be the last time. The primordial form responded and granted him power. But even empowered, BB was still no match for Carl. Witnessing this, Izzy was heartbroken and begged Seigi to save him. However, Seigi was suppressed by Arya and unable to use his abilities. So he also borrowed power from his own primordial form. Seigi, having gained power, broke free from his restraints. Seeing this, BB remarked he was a remarkable man. Carl prepared to use her final blow to finish BB then. But with Seigi's assistance, BB successfully struck Carl, shattering her tattoo. Consequently, Carl fainted. Yet at that moment, BB was also being devoured by the primordial form. He instructed Seigi to devour him, but Seigi couldn't comprehend his words. Just then, Seigi's primordial form rushed over and devoured BB. Confused and distraught, Seigi knelt on the ground. Arya, furious at her failed plan, vowed to make Seigi, who ruined her scheme, taste despair and hatred. Coincidentally, Tuco arrived searching for them. Shockingly, Iltutmish, who was following closely behind, devoured Tuco. Witnessing all this, Seigi was utterly devastated. Arya wanted him to lose everything, pushing him onto a path of vengeance. Afterwards, she and Iltutmish departed together. At that moment, a figure appeared and urged Seigi to join him. He was Wiseman, the man who had previously given Seigi his tattoo. BB had entrusted the future to him. He couldn't remain despondent forever. Just then, Izzy appeared and pointed her gun at Wiseman, declaring she would capture him for the military. Wiseman, however, explained that he was the one who aided BB here and intended to carry on his will. He urged them to trust him and follow him to a location. After taking them to the laboratory, Wiseman informed Seigi that fragments of BB's soul existed within him. Entering this machine would allow Seigi to see BB's memories, his past that represented Seigi's future. Seigi entered BB's memories and witnessed his battle with Carl. He and Carl were locked in a fierce struggle. Arya acknowledged his strength, and Brahmin Captain Ajita warmly welcomed him aboard. Arya bestowed the God-class tattoo upon him, warning that betrayal would result in death and its reclamation. However, BB's true purpose in joining was to obtain technology capable of destroying tattoos, driven solely by a past statement from Izzy, because tattoos had taken everything from her. She wanted all tattoos in the world to vanish. He had also discovered the Cycle Palace, a place researching tattoos. As he pondered how to infiltrate it, Varma suddenly appeared beside him. Seeing this, BB assumed he was exposed and instantly pinned Varma to the ground. But Varma revealed he was actually a spy planted near Arya by the king. Just then, the Guardian of the Cycle Palace appeared. Both men immediately activated their tattoos. BB told Varma to flee while he provided cover, yet the Guardian sent BB flying with a single blow. He was utterly outmatched. Fortunately, the God-class tattoo healed his wounds. After this incident, Varma took BB to meet the king, intending to jointly expose Arya's scheme. The king agreed to let him cooperate with BB. Subsequently, they prepared to infiltrate the Cycle Palace again. BB used his ability to destroy the surrounding trees, quickly drawing the Guardian over. The Guardian launched a fierce attack immediately. After several exchanges, BB discovered her secret. He snatched the leaf the Guardian was about to swallow. This was her trigger. BB had just destroyed all the surrounding trees, so the Guardian, deprived of any trigger, was forced to retreat. At that moment, Varma used his ability to block the Guardian's escape route. BB charged up a punch and struck, though the Guardian simultaneously impaled his arm. However, the Guardian, having lost her tattoo, was utterly unable to withstand the blow. After defeating the Guardian, they searched below and soon arrived at their dwelling place. A woman who claimed to be Arya's sister offered to show them around. This laboratory was where they were created. The king manufactured them to gain control over tattoos. The sisters living here were failed specimens. Only Arya was perfect. Varma questioned why she was telling them this. She explained it was because she didn't hate humans like Arya did. Bibi guessed she hoped they would stop Arya. After Bibi agreed, Carl was also on her way there. Then she bored through the soil layer and struck Varma. Mortally wounded, Varma collapsed into Bibi's arms. After Bibi masked his presence, Carl halted her pursuit. However, Varma ultimately succumbed to excessive blood loss. Knowing Arya would certainly hunt down Bibi for stealing the secrets, the king led him to a secret passage, enabling Bibi to flee the country.
Now, go, would-be hero and champion of justice.
Time returns to the present. A year had passed since the last battle. During this period, Seigi had matured significantly. He was no longer the kid he used to be. Upon returning home, the food on the table consisted of lizards and caterpillars. Tamaki claimed they were high-quality protein. Izzy looked disdainful and refused to eat. Tamaki teased that her poor figure resulted from being too picky. Just as Izzy tried to explain, Tamaki threw a caterpillar into her mouth. Consequently, Tamaki was sent flying by a punch from Izzy. After the meal, they began simulated combat training. The others were no match for Seigi at all. He defeated all three of them within a few rounds. Tamaki asked how he managed to grow so quickly. The current Seigi had indeed matured considerably. Yet when they returned home, they discovered their house was destroyed. Just then, wise men called. Their hiding place had been discovered by the kingdom. With this location compromised, they could only return to headquarters. Seigi found a disc left behind. Back at headquarters, Wiseman played the disc. It turned out to be a video Arya sent for Seigi. She planned to conduct archaeological research at the Grand Canyon and invited Seigi. Surprisingly, Lisa was still alive, leaving Izzy both shocked and relieved. Afterwards, Izzy wanted to rescue Lisa, but Wiseman disagreed. The entire purpose of strengthening Seigi over the past year was to ensure his survival until the end. He must only intervene after Arya activates the ruins because his tattoo was the key. They intended to implant a virus to destroy the ruins system, but the virus wasn't complete yet. Moreover, Arya could freely use all her sister's tattoos, making her the strongest wielder. At that point, Izzy pointed her gun at Wiseman, demanding he immediately arrange transport to the military. She vowed to ensure Seigi's safe return even at the cost of her own life, with Tom and Tamaki guaranteeing Seigi's safety. Before departing, Tom and Tamaki visited the comic convention. Tom purchased numerous pieces of merchandise, while Tamaki found a cosplayer. He informed her that he would be leaving for a while, then produced a 10-carat ring. He promised to marry her properly if he returned safely. Having been childhood sweethearts since their youth, they had endured a sorrowful separation but reunited amidst the vast sea of people. He vowed to return unharmed. The military had long established an operations command center. At that moment, they detected a suspicious target. He was Brahman's captain. The next second, he was engulfed and transformed into an originator's form. Sanders immediately ordered his elimination. Instantly, all personnel fired artillery shells at the originator. Countless projectiles flew in unison and struck him. Izzy's squad arrived at the scene just then. However, they were also spotted by the military. Unable to distinguish friend from foe, the military opened fire. Seeing this, Seigi prepared to charge through. Relying on agile footwork, he dodged the attacks and used his ability to knock them unconscious. Upon reaching the canyon edge, they suddenly witnessed military personnel being killed. The perpetrator was Brahman's Raka. Brahman's Aisha remarked that he remained as twisted as ever. At that moment, soldiers fired shots at them. Aisha activated her tattoo ability, causing all incoming bullets to shrink. Then she instantly enlarged the ground, impaling the soldiers. Seigi grew furious upon seeing this. Izzy urged him to stay calm. They realized Arya wasn't present, so they decided to split into two teams. Seigi and Tom would head to the ruins to find Arya, while Tamaki and Izzy stayed behind to handle Raka and Aisha. Just as Izzy moved to kill Raka, an attack interrupted her. After steadying herself, she discovered this person was actually Lisa. Tamaki located Aisha, who had attacked their house, but Aisha launched an assault immediately, though Tamaki blocked every strike. Right then, a military personnel suddenly appeared, but before he could finish speaking, Aisha fired and enlarged the bullet, killing him instantly. Aisha pleaded with Tamaki to inflict genuine pain upon her. Unexpectedly, she turned out to be a masochist. On the other side, Izzy faced Lisa, who had lost her memory. She steeled herself and kicked Lisa away. Seeing Lisa without her memories, Izzy vowed to dismember Raka into 1,000 pieces. Meanwhile, Seigi located the ruins. He used Void Devourer to enter the underground space, but he hadn't expected Carl to be waiting for him there. Carl's attack was dodged by Seigi. Just as Seigi tried to counterattack, he discovered his abilities couldn't be used here. Physical methods were incapable of destroying the ruins, preventing Seigi from finding Arya. Although Carl's absolute boundary ability had been broken by BB, she could now use anti-tattoo powers. Through relentless training, she had become the strongest abilityless person.
But don't fall for me when I beat you again. I'm a little young for you.
Outside, Izzy was battling Lisa, while Raka continuously attacked from the side. The 2-against-1 situation overwhelmed Izzy. However, at this critical moment, her teammates arrived, Lawrence and Tony. Izzy instructed them to handle Raka, while she confronted Lisa. Raka immediately launched an assault at them. Lawrence activated his ability to entangle Raka's threads, allowing Tony to slash his hand across Raka's front. Raka's body was instantly scalded. Enraged, Raka prepared to unleash his ultimate move. Meanwhile, Izzy seized an opening and punched Lisa squarely in the face, forcibly expelling Iltutmish from Lisa's body. Yet the situation with Tony turned dire. Raka severed all his fingers with threads, and Lawrence became ensnared by the threads, directly sliced into chunks of meat by Raka. As Raka then flung threads toward Tony, threatening to entangle him, an air blast projectile sent Raka flying. Izzy had arrived just in time to save Tony. Izzy fired her gun, successfully hitting Raka. However, Raka sensed something unusual about the bullet. As it turned out, it was Izzy's modified toxin bullet.
Hurry up, charge straight into me! I've been ready and waiting for this so long.
You're best off assuming that I'm not human!
Now die, you insufferable dick!
Inside the ruins, Carl also assumed a stance ready to unleash her final move. Seigi knew this was the decisive confrontation. He also sensed BB's power. Seigi attacked first, but Carl slashed his arm. As Seigi steadied himself to counterattack, Carl exploited the opening to strike his calf and prepared to deliver the finishing blow. Seigi forcibly reset his bone and punched Carl squarely in the chest. A blinding flash erupted. Arya emerged from the ruins after completing her fusion. Seigi realized he was too late. Arya intended to reclaim the 2 keys from Seigi's possession. Seigi then hurled 2 bursts of Void Devourer, but Arya effortlessly blocked both while continuously taunting him. Undeterred, Seigi charged at her again. Arya soared into the air to evade the attack and released numerous glowing orbs. These orbs fired lasers that relentlessly pursued Seigi. Unable to dodge in time, he was struck. Arya's power fueled Seigi's intense frustration. Why couldn't he wield such strength? Why couldn't he overcome that power? Arya mocked him for his weakness, stating his current hatred shackled him, rendering him incapable of using this power. Countless stone pillars crashed down towards Seigi. Simultaneously, the wings on Arya's back began transforming, fusing with the mountainside behind her. Arya manipulated the mountain mass into forming a colossal stone giant. Now, merely closing its hands would finish Seigi. Outside, monitoring the situation, Tom was startled by the sudden emergence. Simultaneously, the signal was severed, cutting off contact with Seigi below. Just as Tom sensed impending disaster, Izzy and the others arrived. After understanding the situation, they located an entrance and rushed in to reinforce Seigi. Unexpectedly, they discovered Sanders there. Sanders, aware of his own critical condition, instructed Izzy to stop Arya. After bidding him farewell, Izzy sprinted deeper into the ruins. Sanders then pulled out a remote control, planning to detonate the nuclear bomb in the worst-case scenario. Izzy was deeply concerned for Seigi's safety.
I won't allow Seigi to die!
Arya intended to use the power of the ruins to destroy humanity, sacrificing herself to create a true deity to change the world. However, Seigi would not accept her approach. Arya sent him flying with a single punch. She knew Wiseman was aiding Seigi and deduced Wiseman's plan, to have Arya consume Seigi, who had ingested poison. At that moment, Tamaki arrived and saved Seigi, though his regenerative ability had reached its limit. Yet Seigi refused to give up. Tamaki urged the others to evacuate Seigi, but Izzy chose to stay and fight. Tom had no choice but to drag Seigi away first. Arya disregarded them entirely. Izzy and Tamaki knew they were no match for her. Arya declared that in a few minutes, the ruins would fuse with her soul, enabling her to devour everyone. Tamaki utilized his ability to shatter incoming rocks, then hurled Izzy toward Arya. Despite firing 2 shots, Izzy achieved absolutely no effect, and instead had her prosthetic arm severed by Arya. The injured Arya became enraged and unleashed her power, triggering a massive explosion within the mountain. The ground quaked violently with sparks flying everywhere. Arya emerged unscathed. Upon learning this, Sanders prepared to detonate the nuclear bomb to eliminate Arya. Everyone was shocked that he intended to trigger a nuclear explosion. Yet when Sanders pressed the detonator, nothing happened. Arya had already discovered and destroyed the bomb, infuriating Sanders. Suddenly, Sigi leaped from the airplane because he spotted Izzy falling. Simultaneously, Arya merged with the origin form and noticed the falling Segi, swallowing him whole. However, Segi soon fell out again. Arya was astonished that he had manifested tattoo power. Wiseman had tampered with everything. Wiseman pressed the switch in his hand, altering Sigi's tattoo system. Sigi suddenly felt an abnormality in his body, sensing he was about to be devoured by the origin form. Only then did he realize the water Wiseman had given him was tainted. By this time, Sigi had also fused with the origin form. Sisters within the Cycle Palace began suffering excruciating headaches, for the origin form's fuel was their very souls. The two beings became the origin form and grappled fiercely, but the newly fused Segi was no match for Arya. Tom placed all his hopes on Segi. Hearing Tom's call, Segi awakened and counterattacked, punching Arya back. Segi understood his ability to control the origin form meant another soul was being consumed. He surmised it was Arya's sisters. Thus, he needed to end the battle quickly. The eldest sister in the Cycle Palace, for her sister's sake, modified the tattoo to concentrate all the burden onto herself, consequently losing her life. Reignited with fighting spirit, Sigi relentlessly pursued Arya. Arya, lacking combat experience, was utterly outmatched. Segi forced open the origin form's jaws with both hands, exposing Arya inside. Segi prepared to deliver the final blow. His punch contained everyone's hope. Seeing this, Arya uttered a final threat and fled. Although Sigi ultimately failed to defeat her, everything was over. Arya fled with her tail between her legs. Sigi had won. In the end, he also successfully rescued Izzy.